So I want to catch up a little bit because you and I spent some time together earlier this year.
Yes.
And I want to give people kind of a sense of kind of the fact you're up to a bunch of stuff. So you were talking about driving organizational change. How's that going?
Before we start, I just want to thank you for that, for helping me, helping my company, helping our valley, helping our industry, being our commentator, our historian, our sage. You have added so much value to everything we do. Thank you very much.
Okay. Global Benefactor, right there.
Okay, let the grilling begin.
Well, no, but so how's the organizational change project? How's that?
It's exciting. I mean, you know, for a company like Salesforce, we're a company that this year will do more than $4 billion in revenue. We have more than 10,000 employees. We're growing still at more than 30%. And it's just fast growing. And when you have that much change and that much growth, any type of organizational change is complex. I don't think it's as complex as the Mars project, however. That makes it look like, I just feel
whatever.
Like that is really inspiring.
And now it's Keith Block's
That's
problem.
That's exciting.
Anyway.
It's Keith Block's problem.
You brought in a new
exactly.
guy. But also the same year you were doing the moving to the mobile platform. So
yes.
And how's that going?
Yes, that's great. I mean, you know, our industry is just a beautiful thing. It's a continuum, and it's constant. All these technologies. I mean, you hear automobile, space exploration. This is the nature of the X Prize. You know, all this technology is constantly getting lower cost and easier to use. It's just awesome. It's just riding the continuum that's so complicated. You know, and that's what's hard. And I think what's so inspiring about all the people that you've heard is, you know, that, like you said, they're thinking big. Number one. But also in our industry, people are always overestimating what they can do, you know, in a year, and they underestimate what they're going to do in a decade. And I think for the entrepreneurs, the leaders, the visionaries who can kind of get through that block, that they can see the future, truly. So many people in this industry can see the future, that they can create this amazing next world for us. It's just awesome.
Well, here's the point I was kind of trying to get to. So in this last year,
you know, I'm not going to answer.
I know exactly. So I've given up. I've given up on you. But driving organizational change.
That happened a decade ago.
A major.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
A major mobile platform. He added a new cloud. You know, we had this marketing cloud thing. It's a huge thing. And he's got to have a few friends to come over in November and to meet you at the Moscone. I think maybe 120,000.
Well, that's been exciting, which is that, I mean, you're right. I mean, when we started the company, and you know, think about not thinking big enough, we didn't realize we were going to really start an industry. And for us to do what we want to do and make happen what we want to make happen, we would have to create an industry. And it has happened. It's exciting. You do see this cloud computing industry, and then of course, our company conference, for whatever reason, Dreamforce, has become the industry conference, and so we'll have 120,000 people come, you know, November 18th, 19th, and 20th, all over the world, and you just see this manifestation of creativity and inspiration and excitement and power. I mean, it's really phenomenal.
It's amazing. So here was the point I'm leading to. This man's world is nonstop. It's always been that way ever since I've known him, and long before that. If you're going to be a global benefactor, there's no way you can tack it on to that life and say, you know what, I want to do all this, and I want to be a benefactor. It's like I'll just do that on the side. And so one of the most amazing things, and it's very well documented in Behind the Cloud, but I want to kind of just walk through this story a bit, is to build in an integrated approach from day one. I mean, so kind of just tell us a little bit about how the thinking went into that. How did that first foundation set of things get going? What was going on, and where the 1-1-1 thing came from?
Well, I mean, I think it's a good lesson, and I think, you know, I was reflecting yesterday. I turned 49, and so I thought about, you know, I'm kind of entering my third of my life. I'm probably already squarely in it.
You're a baby.
But you know, the first thirds of our life are very much about learning. The second thirds of our life is very much about creating, and the third third of our life is very much, I think, about giving back and teaching and mentoring. But you know, what I realized yesterday is all three of those things, learning, creating, and giving, are all happening simultaneously, you know, in the present moment. And when we can kind of get into that present moment reality that, wow, all of this is happening, and that you want this integrated approach, it can be extremely fulfilling. It can be enlightening, and honestly, it can be grace. It can be a continual set of grace in your life. And this kind of revelation for me came way more than a decade ago, I was still at Oracle.
Yeah.
It was about 1997, and I was invited to a conference that was being chaired by Colin Powell. And this conference was really awesome, called the President Summit for America's Future. Was the 5 living presidents of the United States at that time. Nancy Reagan at the time represented Ronald Reagan. And Colin Powell's message was very simple. All you folks have come here from corporations, and the assets that you have in your corporations, the money, the talent, the time, the relationships, the technology, well, it needs to be used to help others. And when are you guys going to kind of wake up and realize that we have all these amazing corporations in this country, and we can turn the power of those corporations back into a tremendous amount of grace and service to our communities. And I went back, and at the time I talked to Larry Ellison, who was my manager, and he's like, this is great. They've got America's Promise. We'll create Oracle's Promise. We're going to have $100 million. We're going to put computers in schools and network schools. And I was all into it. So, the mornings, I'm out there in the schools. Afternoons, I'm building software. But in the mornings, we're in schools all over the country. Anyway, Colin Powell asked us to do a school in Washington, D.C., McFarland Middle School. And we have these 2 great engineers, Mitch Wallace and Jim Cavallari. They go out there. They've got 100 computers. They've let the Oracle office know. We have a big office in Bethesda, Maryland, because the government's a huge customer of Oracle. And they call and they go, oh, we have a huge problem. It's 110 degrees. We got the computers. It's 3 flights. We're never going to get this done. And all the employees from Oracle, well, they haven't shown up because they don't realize it's important to us. And I recognized that at a very key moment that there was a problem. The problem was that those employees didn't realize that it was important to the company, to our culture, because it wasn't part of our company or culture. It was exactly as you said, it was tacked on. I had to have this very uncomfortable call with Colin Powell. I had to call him. I had to say, oh, General, I'm so sorry. The computers are not going in today. He's yelling at me, hangs up on the phone on me, really, upsetting. Anyway, my phone rings again 30 minutes later, and Jim and Mitch are on the phone, and they're going, well, a battalion of Marines just arrived here at McFarland Middle School. And I'm like, it's good to be the general. So,
but so when you did your own,
got those computers in, fortunately.
But when you so when you went to do your own computer, your own company, what did you do instead?
Well, I think the message is you got to do it from the beginning. You got to integrate it into your culture. And you know what? Your employees want you to do it. Your customers want you to do it. Your partners want you to do it. And
do your investors want you to do it?
Your investors want you to do it because it creates a better company. It also attracts more talent. And it creates this virtuous cycle inside an organization that you can give back. Like I said, you can learn, you can create, you can give back simultaneously, and you can do that in your company. And we've learned that. We took 1% of our time when we started the company, 1% of our equity, and 1% of our profits. Now, it was very easy at the time because we had no equity, we had no time, we had no profits.
But you primed the pump a little bit.
But what happened is the company scaled,
yeah.
And the 501c3 public charity scaled with it.
Yep.
And so today we've given away tens of millions of dollars. We have over 100 employees in the foundation. We have 20,000 nonprofits for free running on our service. We don't charge nonprofits or NGOs for our products, which is great. And I mean, that's, we applaud, but that's an applauding of a decision 14 years ago.
Yeah.
And that's my point, which is it's the grace that actually will continues to come. And it's a feel-good thing. I can't tell you how many panels, how many people, how many random occurrences I have where people say, oh, well, I'm using Salesforce for this amazing, phenomenal thing. And I'm like, this is just, the power of giving back. And I think that we are an industry of creationism and kind of never-ending cycles of improvement. But we don't do a great job of giving and generosity and thinking about compassion into our companies from the beginning, from the get-go, and it's so easy actually to do, as we've proven. And by the way, we've inspired a lot of other great companies to follow along. We mentor those companies, show them how to do it, because it's a great and it's fun. It's a great aspect of a company to be able to give back. And then personally, I'm very, my wife is here tonight, and she's my partner in my philanthropic efforts. Hey, Lynn, would you just stand up and
Please.
Thank you for that. Yeah. And
Never miss a chance to humiliate your spouse. It's worth a million.
It's a professional speaker right here, ladies and gentlemen. But we've given $100 million to UCSF to build a new children's hospital in San Francisco. But honestly, we're really committed to really giving a vast majority of our wealth away because it's easy to do. It's massively impactful, actually, and there's organizations who desperately need it. And so we can do it personally, we can do it organizationally, and then you get this whole ecosystem of folks around you that show how possible it is to do, and that's the inspiring thing.
Well, I want to just touch on one thing, because one of the things that's characterized the workforce in the last 10 years in particular is there's a much stronger sense, I think, of altruism in the workforce than the decade that prior to that, where there was, I think, much more oriented toward just wealth accumulation. So this structural thing that you've done, you've been at
Well,
this
I don't
now.
think you should go on from that, because, we have inspiring figures today in society like Bill Gates. And you know what Bill Gates has done in the last 10 years, it's pretty awesome. I was just with Bill Gates at a conference, and I had an opportunity to talk to him, and smiling ear to ear, far happier when he was working at Microsoft. He used to be this grumpy guy.
He did.
Windows everywhere. But then now, now it's like joy and happiness and elation.
Yeah,
and
it is.
it's really awesome. And it's true, actually.
true.
It's
Absolutely.
completely awesome.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
I'm just looking at him going, this is a model, actually. Here's a guy who worked the appropriate level of his life, and now he is just saved 10 million lives by dedicating the last decade of his life to philanthropic good. And that inspires me. That should inspire all of us, and we should be looking for these models. And he's not the only one who's doing this kind of tremendous work. So we have to, we can have that joy, and happiness. Why should he be the only one who's happy?
That's right.
We can all have that happiness. And he shows us how to do it by dedicating our life to, giving back.
So you're, in fact, part of when you joined Salesforce. There's so many lessons you guys have learned from this in the 14 years. But just if you were to pick, like for example, when people join the company, how do you get them in part of this thing? How do you invite them into this to this grace?
Well, I think that you have to start right at the beginning, and honestly, on the first day of work, and I didn't come up with this, but Suzanne DiBianco runs our foundation. It's phenomenal now for more than a decade. You've had a chance to meet her. Day one, she's at CGI right now, which has been a great partner of ours. Day one, people come in for the first 3 hours. Here's the bathroom, here's your email address, here's your cube. And the second half of the day, by the way, here's Grace Cathedral, here's Family House, here's a nonprofit, and you're going to go spend the rest of the day doing selfless service. So get out there and do something for someone else and stop looking at your navel for the rest of the afternoon, because it's got to start right now, and that's the message the first day of employment. Now, we've cycled tens of thousands of people through the company, by a normal rate of churn for a company our size. So we've been able to kind of give that opportunity to a lot of folks. And again, it's not that hard to do, and it's not anything that I think that anybody should really get a pat on the back for. It's just that when I went to business school at USC, which is a very good business school, and I'm a trustee at USC, I'm a big fan of the school, but there's none of this, in place. You go to marketing class, you read your book, you do accounting, you do, these organizational behavior things, most of which you don't use any of it, but
It's true.
That is not part of the curriculum, and it should be, because it makes for a better company. And I think that this was, look, when we started our company, we wanted a new technology model, when that's cloud, multi-tenancy, subscription services. That business model also, I would say, is also a critical part of what we did. Charging as you go instead of the license fee model. But then a new philanthropic model. I think a new philanthropic model was very much one of our goals, and it's exciting to see it pay out. That it's turned into be something that we could really get some truth out of and get that light out to everybody.
Well, the world is a better place, and thank you very much.
Thanks,
on
and
behalf
thanks
of
for the
everyone.
hat. I really appreciate it.
Thanks a lot. Take care.